Hello everybody, Mick here, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had an awesome week wherever you are. Thank you all very much for the kind comments regarding my knee. It is getting better, the brace is off now. Aching like a swine, but as all the time I keep it moving, it's getting better. So again, it's one of those things, isn't it? As we get older, we're carrying injuries through life and sometimes they come back to kick us in the goalies. So last week we covered spirit stoves. And this week, a little bit of inventive genius. So, little John West tuna chunks tin actually works as a perfect snuffer for the top of that, and the spirit stove could be stored inside it. Worked out nice. Kaz also picked me up a new spirit stove for me to try out, which I'm not going to do today. That can be done on another video. But that's a Tom Shoe spirit stove. Now, it's aluminium, which I quite like. It's nice and light, and the lid does have a sealing ring. So again, that meets one of the requirements I had for a spirit stove, is the fact that I can seal it up with fuel in it and carry it. Now this has no stuffing ring, snuffing ring I should say, not stuffing ring, but that tuna chunks tin is exactly the same depth, okay, and this little aluminium stove fits inside it, which gives that stove a little bit of protection from being crushed. However, the nice thing is, with the ring on the top, that also doubles up again as a snuffer. So these small John West tuna chunks tins, if you've got a spirit stove with no snuffer, there's an option for you. Okay, so there we go. That is spirit stoves. That's all we're going to do on spirit stoves this week. What I'm looking at is wood. So, chatting with my mate Sticks, one of the things we came up with was, if you were carrying a bush box that could take a spirit stove, realistically in a long-term situation or in a mobile situation, the spirit stove's what you would use for making a brew, possibly first thing in the morning and through the day on your travels, because you can stop, set it up in seconds, have it lit, and within 5 to 10 minutes you've got a brew. Fantastic. However, when you actually get to your camp environment in the evening, i.e. you've got your shelter up, you're now bashering down for the night, you want something that's going to go a bit longer. So having a bush box like this that will take a spirit stove but also burn wood is a great alternative, because if you're in a permissive environment where you can get away with it, i.e. there's no threat of being found, seen, fire risk and so on, you can then use the bush box for making your meal on, cooking on, providing heat, comfort, light and morale, okay, without using up your instant resources, because you can let it burn for that bit longer. Now, so what I was wondering was how well the little folding Lixada bush box would do as a twig stove, because it is quite small. But also we've picked up this one. Now, me and Kaz were, I think, possibly conned. This is an exact copy of the small Lixada stove, but is a larger version. I'm unsure whether it's Lixada, 1, due to its price, 2, due to the materials it's made from. Now, this is made from stainless steel, and it is a little bit on the flimsy side in comparison. Also, the way the logo is printed on it is different. So, I think we may have been done, but that happens. On top of that, Kaz has also picked me up this, which is a genuine item, a Lixada folding stove, which to me looks like it's a gasifier. So I've also brought out my gasifier stove to compare the two, so we can have a look and see how that works as a gasifier stove. This will also work with a spirit stove, as would that gasifier there. And of course, getting back to the absolute basics, if you're really on a budget and you're really struggling, okay, if you can look around your local shops and that, the cheap shops, pound shops, places like that, you might find one of these, okay, which is a little folding strainer for things like lettuce and that. These make brilliant fire pits. They really do make a brilliant fire pit. And then if you go online, for a couple of quid you can pick up something like this, which is a little folding grate, which I believe Kaz found on Temu, and was only a couple of quid. That combined with that little fire pit makes a nice little cook system on its own. You could cook anything on that, whether it be in a pot, whether it be grilling it, however you wanted. So again, it's that ability to adapt and adjust to your environment. And again, just to let you know, Kelly Kettle hobo stove, again, another brilliant piece of TWIG stove, works really well, and combined with your Kelly Kettle will make water quick, or boil water super fast, and then also give you something that you can cook in pans, frying pans, grill on, and so on and so on and so on. But again, we're not going to be covering that today because I've covered that on a lot of videos. What we're going to do, we're going to put this to one side for the minute, and again, nice little cheap option, nice and light, it's not too fiddly, packs away to nothing. We'll put that back there, that will slide off of there, and we will have a look at these bush boxes. I'll get the gasifiers out the way. Now it is quite windy today, it's reasonably bright, it's quite a pleasant day, but it is quite windy. So we have that to face. My wood store here is quite limited as well, so again, it's not really the best environment for doing this at home. Just to let you know, safety sake wise, have a hose. This is on a metal tray. The metal tray is also on a piece of carbon felt, so it's not going to melt my table underneath. Okay, and we're going to go with a very simple system. So what we're going to look at, we'll use a couple of fibre fire lighters just to get it going, and we will throw some twigs in there. We'll have a look at the stoves, we'll see how they compare. I want to get some heat in this cheaper version and see whether it distorts so much. The titanium ones, the stainless steel ones, normally aren't too bad because stainless steel's got quite a high level of memory. So although it'll get hot and it may bow, when it cools it nearly always goes back flat. The same thing with titanium. But again, just a bit of an interesting experiment to see how we go. Right, out with the old cigarette lighter. I'm going to have to do this a bit back to front. So I'm going to put 4 of these blocks in each one. Let the blocks get going. In actual fact, in the smaller one, I'm going to go place 2 blocks. Obviously it's a smaller stove, we're going to need that. And we'll get some twigs, which I prepared a little while ago. Now obviously with the larger stove you can use larger pieces of wood. So that's the 2 little bush, but that's a large and a small bush box. I'm going to get a fair bit of heat in both of those. So what we'll do, we'll take out a military mug, and we will make a brew. We'll have a look at boiling water, and I'm only going to use the small one for boiling the water on because the big one's exactly the same design. Yeah, as we can see, the big one's exactly the same design. So we'll place the mug on like that, see how long that takes to come to a brew. Heat's being thrown off. Have we got distortion? Yes, we've got a little bit of distortion on this, the larger one, not so much on the smaller one. Put the lid on there, take a swig of my tea, let these burn through, get some fancy shots. So as we can see, distortion on the titanium box is pretty much 0. There's a little bit of bowing there, but as that cools, that will come back to shape. And titanium cools very, very fast, which is an added bonus. Stainless steel, we can see a little bit of distortion on that, a little bit of bowing in places, but again, that's because that is stainless steel. Okay, and that stainless steel should revert to its shape as it cools, and we'll have a look at that in a minute once it cools down. That's my standard gasifier stove, which we will set to running there, and this is a new one. So today, however, I'm going to be using this as a gasifier. So how this works is that's your base piece for the ground. This is your top piece with your opening for fuel. That drops in the centre, that drops in that way. Now that gives me this ring of holes here and venting through the bottom. So the theory of a gasifier stove is that as the oxygen's drawn in through the bottom, it comes up through the sides, the gaps in the sides, drawing with it gas from the fire. As it draws in gas from the fire, it's superheated between the walls there and ignites in the top. And then you use this top here for putting your pot on. As opposed to this one, and this is the reason I'm doing this test, because as you'll notice there's a difference. This one has the fire pot, has the same sort of ring with holes to draw in oxygen, has the double wall permanently fitted, the fire pot slots in the centre of that, and it has these ring of holes here for the superheated gases, and then you put the lid on the top. Notice the difference in height between the burner ring on that one and the burner ring on this one. So the question I've got to ask myself is, how efficient is this going to be at gasifying, or is it just a twig stove? That's the question we have to ask. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fuel both these up with the same amount of fuel in the same sort of way. I'm going to fire them up. I am going to get a pot of water. No, in fact, I'm not going to do a burn. I'm just going to fire them up and we'll see how they do there. What I'm looking for is how the ring interacts and the sort of heat that it's going to give off in comparison. So, no further ado, let's load these up. Now, because I've limited resources here, I'm not going to load these up like you would a normal gasifier. So with a normal gasifier, I would attempt to get all my wood in that way, so it forms a ring around that way, so it burns from the top down. I'm just going to drop it into the centre, let it go from there, and fire them both up that way. I know that's not the correct way of doing a gasifier, but it's speed and it's efficiency today, because otherwise I'll have spent 3 or 4 hours out here again making a video, the majority of which is going to disappear in the editing. So let's light one of the fire lighters up there. Just drop the other fire lighter in there, both lit. I'm going to give them both 2 more blocks. I'm going to fire some twigs into them both, or bits of wood into them both. And this is just scrap wood that I've had around the garden. I will say this one seems to be lighting up faster, and I'm already seeing a bit of gasification, which is quite interesting. So that's very interesting. Probably because it's a smaller pot area, but we'll have to allow these to get going. You've got to allow them to get up to temperature. Some oxygen in around that one. Let's place that on there. Okay, so that's now on there. So now I'm reduced to the only way of feeding this one is going to be that way. And we'll let them get going, let them do their thing. And this one, because it's a smaller area, seems to have got going faster. Is it burning clean? It's burning fairly clean. Gasification seems to be working on it. I'm seeing the flames coming through the holes, but I'm not going to really be able to tell until I've got it burnt down a little bit. The other one, yeah, the heat's starting to build. I can see the heat's building on the walls and it's starting to try and jet through the holes. So that's all good. Let's place that. That goes on there. So the true gasifier, which is this one, is now jetting. And it's burning efficiently. You can see that the flame is clearer, it's easier to see through, and there's less smoke. This one is smoking a little bit and it's more of an orange flame, so there are more bits of residue and that escaping with it. Could I cook on it? Yes, definitely. Is it a good TWIG stove? Yes, it's a very good TWIG stove. Is it a true gasifier? Not to the same efficiency as this one. And again, if I lift that off, you can see the gasification taking effect there. The wood's burning slower and we're getting less smoke, less chemicals. This one, not so much. But again, as I said, is it a good TWIG stove? Yeah, it's a good TWIG stove. Does it work as a TWIG stove? Definitely. And again, as we were saying, the beauty of a gasifier is in the fact that it's a clean burn. I'll have to drop some more bits of wood into that one and see if it's just a heat related thing. Have I got the heat at the right level? Does it need to be lowered down? And again, because this is the bit of a misnomer, so because that flame is less bright, you've got to realise that it's burning hotter. Okay. This one on your left hand side, looking at that, I think it's going to be your left hand side, trying to think how the stream will work. This one is definitely burning hotter than this one. This one is working efficiently, as is this one. This one is better. It's a better gasifier. As a TWIG stove, this is very good. So this is all you've got, and we are getting a little bit of gasification with it. Not as much. Nowhere near as much. The other nice thing with the gasifier, that gasifier with the curved into top, you can hear the wood spitting. It's not spitting out so much, it tends to be held in place and caught. Now, I've had to lift both these pots up and put them on a piece of wood. The ash drops out the bottom of these pots, it would hit that tray tin and burn whatever's underneath it. So a gasifier is an extremely hot item. Okay, it sheds its ash underneath. You need to collect that ash. You need to make sure whatever you're placing it on is not flammable. So you see, there's a little bit of gasification going on in this one. There's a lot more in that one. And again, finally, we come down to the good old folding basket and a grill, which you can't really go wrong with. Okay, it works. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a great way of cooking. Room for a couple of pots, large saucepan, whatever you needed on there, it will work for you. You could probably grill and boil at the same time on that system. Okay, it gives light, gives heat, gives flexibility. Yeah, it works for me. And again, packs away fairly light. Downsides, things to watch, is your ground underneath it. Obviously it doesn't give any protection to the ground whatsoever, so you want to sit it on something that's going to give it a bit of ground protection. But also bear in mind that if, like me, you're sitting it on a metal tray, whatever's under that metal tray is also going to be affected by the heat it transfers through, so you might want a sacrificial block or something underneath there. Okay, damp the ground down, dig down to bare earth, whatever you need to do. But it works. Now, downside of wood fire is always the same things. It's carbon monoxide, it's chemicals from the woods that are on the fire. As you see, it gets very, very sooty, so you want lids on things. Information for those of you that are just starting out, and I know a lot of the guys already know this, but you never ever burn new wood. It's very, very toxic. You don't burn laurel either. That's extremely toxic. Okay. You do not want to cook on pine, any of the pines. They're great for fire lighting, they're good for getting your fire going. Pine burns hot, it burns fast, but it's full of resins and it will pitch and tar things up very, very quickly. So if you're cooking, say a steak on a grill, you want to be doing it over the embers of a hardwood. If you're doing it over the embers, not the flame, you get a more controlled heat, a more even heat, and again, you're getting less chemicals from it because you're pretty much burning off of a charcoal. If you're cooking in a pot, then this way, not a problem at all. And as you can see, it gives off a lot of heat and a lot of light. But do not, please, do not ever cook bare food over pine. If you've got to cook with pine, wrap it in foil or wrap your food in foil, put it into a pot, put it into a container, whatever you got to do. But yeah, because otherwise it will contaminate it. Birch again is the same, gives off a lot of tar. If it's not seasoned, you can have a problem with that. The best woods for cooking over that I find personally are oak, beech, ash. They're my favourites. I like those to cook on. But again, it depends what hardwoods you have around you. Hazel is another good hardwood to cook on. But again, it also comes down to needs as must, doesn't it? If you're in a survival situation and you've got no other way, then you might have to use that bit of pine. And if you do, like I say, just remember that whatever you're cooking, you want to wrap it in something. Now, that can be many different methods. So you can use everything from tin foil to wet newspaper, even down to clay and mud for cooking your food. Now, I know that sounds horrible, but one of the oldest techniques in the world for cooking fish is to wrap it in clay and then bake it. The same with the other mammal species. Things like hedgehogs and that traditionally were wrapped in clay, cooked in clay, which took the spines off once it was cooked, and it was cooked in the embers of the fire. So again, you can do that. You're going to sort of be wondering to yourself about sterilisation, but if you've wrapped it in clay and then you then put it into that fire, that heat is going to be enough to sterilise the clay or whatever you're using as your coating. Yeah, so there we have it. Wood, cooking on wood. Now, any sort of wood fire is a bonus in a survival situation, and this is where we're talking about survival. Fire will give you morale, keeps animals at bay, can sterilise water. It's been a friend for us for thousands of years. Okay, it's a skill to master. It's not something to take lightly. It's something to always be cautious about. Always be aware of the fire risks around you, and if need be, do without. If you can do without, now don't light a fire just for the sake of lighting a fire. it's not always in your best interests, because if it does get away from you, you're in a world of hurt. Take it from somebody that has seen and experienced forest fires himself and heathland fires. They are mightily dangerous and destructive and have no mercy, and will travel faster than you can run, I promise you. Terrifying things, absolutely terrifying. My water's coming to a boil. So that's it for this week. So what we've done over the last couple of weeks, we've done a bit of an introduction to spirit stoves. We covered spirit stoves last week. If any of you are interested in spirit stoves, you can go back and have a look at that. Oh, ice cream man's coming round. It must be getting warm. Right guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. So that was this week. So last week we covered spirit stoves. This week we've covered TWIG stoves. Hopefully you found it interesting. We had a look at some gasifiers. We had a look at simple methods that you can improvise yourself, and there are hundreds of them. Okay, it's just a matter of finding what works for you, what fits within your budget. Guys, wherever you are in this world, go outdoors, have your adventures, stay safe, be careful. Remember, fire, once it's away from you, it's no longer your friend. However, fire under control is a great friend to have. It gives you morale, sterilises water, cooks your food, keeps the wild animals at bay. Okay, it's one of man's oldest friends. It's one of the first survival skills we mastered, and it's one of the things that's helped us to progress where we are to where we are today. Okay, so have a wonderful time. Next week I'll be up the woods because I'll be prepping for Camp Angry Beavers at the end of the month. And for any of you that are interested in Camp Angry Beavers or want to come along, join us this Sunday for our Sunday social live stream. I'll be giving out some more details then. There are a couple of spaces left. Now, Camp Angry Beavers is one that I hold up in the woods that I use. It's a weekend camp. To arrive on a Friday or a Saturday if you wish, and pulling out on a Sunday. It's camping in the woods, just meeting up with other guys, having fun, okay, and gals. There's no politics, there's no issues, there's no dramas, there's no stand to. It's just a group of guys and gals in the woods having fun while camping. Okay, if you're interested in that, come over and join us on the Sunday social. I'll be giving out more details this week, and there is no fee. I don't charge for a Camp Angry Beavers. What I do ask for is a small donation if you can afford it. That goes into a pot, and that goes to the guys that provide the site. That's a thank you to them for allowing me to use the woods for the camp. Whether that buys them a packet of biscuits or a pint of beer doesn't really matter. It's just a thank you. So guys, be safe, have fun, get outdoors, do your adventures, do all that fun stuff. But more than anything, love those you do, forgive those you don't, and peace and light be upon you all. Till we chat next time, this is Mickey, Hampshire Outdoors of Survival. Mickey out.